The rescue operation at an abandoned mine in Sabie in Mpumalanga has officially wrapped up, with the last illegal miner brought to the surface. This brings the total number of miners who have been rescued to 153. Police have now declared the site a crime scene following reports that some miners were forced to work underground.
We have brought those 153 in total of those that were underneath and underground. Then they've been brought to the surface. This will be followed by the operational part where the investigation will have to kick in, as well as other role players within the police in terms of forensic to ensure that, because remember, this now is regarded as a crime scene. You remember we had those allegations that some of the ones that were underground indicated that they were coerced or forced to mine illegally. So hence those that information is being followed with the investigation that will kick on. Unfortunately, it will be behind the scene. Most of the people will have to vacate the place so that the other police work can continue up to the end.
Now joining us is Christopher Rutledge, Executive Director of Mining Affected Communities United in Action and Women Affected by Mining United in Action. Mr. Rutledge, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. Now, your organization has particularly been on the ground with regards to the Stilfontein mine. Let's perhaps begin by you outlining the role that MACUA plays in representing the interests and rights of mining affected communities, particularly in relation to illegal mining activities.
So essentially, Katlego, MACUA was started about 10 years ago, after the Marikana massacre, quite ironically. It was formed when, 150 activists gathered and realized that there was a problem in South Africa with relation to how communities that are affected by mining activities have been represented in the legislation and in the broader economic sense. And so for the last 10 or so years, we've been advocating that mining affected communities need to be considered more closely when issues like mining are raised. So there are some areas where there's active mines, where communities are very poorly treated. And then there are communities like Stilfontein, where mining has already happened, but communities are still living with the legacy of that mining. And so what we try and do is to work with communities so that their voices can be heard, and so that the issues that affect them, like, for example, artisanal mining, can be addressed. And because we work so closely with communities, and because MACUA itself is a community-based organization, it became very clear to us many years ago that artisanal mining was going to become a problem in South Africa because it wasn't regulated. And we held our first conference on artisanal mining in 2015, where we had at that point already identified that this was a challenge. In 2017, we worked with artisanal miners in Kimberley, and through mass protest and through engagements with the state, we actually got them their first license. The first ever license that was applied to artisanal miners was given in Kimberley as a result of the work that we have undertaken with the community there. And across those years, we've engaged the state around how to move the sector forward, because there is a great amount of wealth available to communities, but they are excluded from this. So in a country where we're sitting with dire poverty, and right next to you is a mine that contains billions of rands worth of wealth, it's very difficult to say to communities, but you have to live in poverty while all of this wealth is sitting there next to you. So, we've understood that artisanal mining is essentially driven by poverty, first of all. Besides the fact that kingpins benefit off it, we understand that the basic worker that goes down into those mines, the people that are currently stuck in Stilfontein, are just workers. They are the people that are trying to put a plate of food on the table. They are not the kingpins. They are the ordinary workers that go to work every day. They live underground for long periods of time so that they can put a plate of food on the table. And so it is from that point of view that we've engaged with communities around this. We've included that in our People's Mining Charter. And we have submitted on various occasions proposals to government about how we could regulate the sector so that we can have a broad-based economic sharing of the wealth rather than what our current mining laws allow. It only allows for foreign white-owned businesses to own the mines. So essentially the people that benefit, ironically, while we're all complaining about foreigners, is foreigners. But it seems like there's a different standard for rich white people and for poor black people. And so, MACUA tries to work through those dichotomies in our society. And we try and make sure that the voices of those people who are generally excluded have been excluded through ages, through colonial periods, through even our last 30 years of democracy. Communities have generally been excluded, they've been silenced, and they're not allowed to share in the wealth that this country creates. And all people want is jobs and to live, So the fact that our police and the state has criminalized them, has treated them as if they are evil villains that need to be smoked out and killed is just absolutely sad. And hopefully our courts eventually will come to the rescue and ensure that the rule of law is applied,
Right.
and that the state is held to account for the deaths that it is causing in Stilfontein at this time.
So where do we draw the line, Christopher, between artisanal mining and illegal mining, especially in South Africa, where a lot of artisanal mining is illegal?
Yeah, no, all artisanal mining in South Africa currently is illegal. So that is a problem. And what we're saying is it doesn't have to be illegal. If we work collectively, if we use the multiple, there are probably thousands of unemployed graduates who have all gone through training in various disciplines in the mining sector. If we were to put those graduates to good use, to be able to set up structures that support artisanal mining and where local people can work in the mines and earn a living in a respectable way, in a proper legal way, then we will have a situation where we can create millions of jobs, literally millions of jobs. And yet our government is very much opposed to that, so much so that we believe that the police in Stilfontein are actually feeding the South African public and the South African media with information that is potentially not true. In fact, the police have been saying that people are being held underground with weapons now. And, we pointed out in a press statement that we released today to say that at 12:30 at night, police are calling media to shaft 10, where they are then showing the people that are coming out of the mine, and those people that are coming out of the mine are making all kinds of claims about people are being held hostage and they can't get out. Yet, people who we've spoken to, and we've submitted these documents to court, which says that people who've been working underground for more than 10 years in that location, have said that it is very difficult for people to come out of shaft 10, as the police are alleging, because it's extremely steep. It is very dangerous and precarious. And what we're seeing at 12:30 this night is that these fit, strong young men are being paraded before the media, making all these claims when it is quite clear that after 3 months, there is no ways that those people are going to be as fit as the media shows us they are. Because the people that are coming out of shaft 11, you can see they are emaciated, they are weak, they are literally dying. We've already retrieved 9 bodies. So we believe that the police are potentially here feeding a narrative to the South African public, which is not true. And the South African police has a bloodthirsty streak in them. As far back as 2012, when the Mpumalanga massacre happened, we know that they lined up the hearses and the body bags, and they were ready to really kill people. And it looks like the same is emerging here in Stilfontein, is that the police is creating a narrative to justify why they are killing these people. And we think that is really, really concerning. And we're asking that, the media and South African public look at the facts more closely, because what the South African police are saying does not appear to be verifiable. It doesn't appear to be logical. And there is a definite problem with the way that this information is getting out to the public. And we're going to have to call for some kind of commission of inquiry here, because it does seem like this underhanded tactics being used by the very agents of the law that are set out to protect the law. And that's quite concerning.
Right. So still speaking to the press release that your organization sent out a little earlier, there are a lot of accusations that you are making against the South African Police Service. Like you mentioned, the fact that they are parading people who pretend to have come out of Shaft 10, that 800 people are being held hostage by 36 people, which you say does not make sense. It's just so many things that you're claiming that the police are saying that the miners are either held captive or they're refusing to leave the mine. Why would the police, to what benefit would all of these allegations and accusations that you make towards the police, how would it benefit them in any way?
This is what really befuddles us, I must be honest. I personally cannot make sense of it, in the sense that on the one hand, the police are saying people are being held hostage, and they've said that there are children under there. Now, if that is the case, then they are, in terms of our law, victims of kidnapping and child labor and human trafficking. In that event, then there is an onus on the police to act to get those people out. Yet we see that the police have delayed for the last 3 weeks to even put in place the mechanisms that they said they were going to use to extract the miners. So that already confuses us. Secondly, we are deeply concerned because on the one hand, the police say, but the miners can exit freely of their own free will. And on the other hand, they say, no, but they're being held hostage. So there is a range of discrepancies that the police have put in front of the public, which just does not make sense. And what people in the know, the communities, like I say, some of the communities that we are working with, some of the members, and we've, like I say, put this in front of court. We have sworn affidavits in front of court. They have said to us that to exit from the mine shafts in the way that the police are alleging is quite impossible. Not only have those people said it's impossible, Harmony Gold Mine themselves have put papers before the court 2 days ago in which they admit that there is no ways that people can exit freely at the Margaret Shaft, as the police have been saying, because it's just impossible. This is not from us. This is from the mining company that is there. They've said in court that there's no ways that they can come out. So the police has to be very clear. Either these people can come out freely or they can't. If they can't come out freely, why are we not getting people out as soon as possible? Drop the cages, let people come out, and if nobody else comes out at some point, then we can talk about what exactly is going on there. But at this point, we know for a fact that there are people there that want to desperately come out. People are dying underground. They are weak. They are desperate. And yet the police have gone to court and they've denied us the opportunity over this weekend, for example, to extract people. So we are barred from going there to extract people. And that seems to me to be quite cynical, and one wonders that the police, who are meant to protect and serve, are actually the ones holding people down there. And that's why I say, in 2012, we saw that the police had a murderous streak, that when they make a stand against criminals, they want to make a point that we are going to take you out. And they did that with the miners in Marikana. And I think they are trying to make the same point here in Stilfontein, that they are going to kill if they don't get their way. And I think that's quite sad. I think we have offered on a number of occasions to negotiate this whole process, to get people out, but the police have been intransigent, and I can only think that this is some kind of murderous vein that runs through the police, because we've seen it in 2012.
So, Christopher, does MACUA believe that illegal miners have legal rights in South Africa?
Absolutely. The law is very, very clear about this. The Constitution is very, very clear about this. First of all, those people who are underground have not been to a court of law. It's only in a court of law that they can be declared guilty. They are currently suspects. All suspects have a right to be treated in a humane manner. We cannot, by Geneva Convention and by humanitarian law in our own country and internationally, as is the case in Palestine, where our government is currently pursuing a case against the Israeli government for starving people, using food and lack of access to humanitarian aid as a weapon against people. It is ironic that our government here are doing exactly the same thing to people who are accused of illegal activities, and that may be the case. Like we say, we are not by any means saying that the law should not take its course, but we are very definitely saying that the law has to act within the law. Even the court on Wednesday, I think it was, when we went to the court and there was an urgent matter because the police were denying us access to get food down, the court was very clear that the police cannot subvert the law. They are subverting the law. And that is why the court ruled in our favor at that time, because it was very clear that the agents of the law are subverting the law. Now, they're doing this in the full glare of daylight. The media is supporting them and repeating everything that they say as if it's, as if it's been sanctioned by the highest law, but it's not. The fact of the matter is the police are not acting in good faith. They are denying some of the leaders access to, as the court has instructed them to. They try to deny food. People have died as a result of that. And now it seems as if they are trying to create a narrative to support their actions. Now, creating the narrative, that maybe is the greatest sin here. And I think that is where we need to look a bit further. Let's ask the police to produce those witnesses, and then let's do audit of the numbers of the people that they've taken out of those shafts. Where are those people? Let's count them. Let's see. Let's speak to these people that they claim have come through shaft 10. That is what is required now. Because like I say, I'm afraid, but we cannot trust what the police are saying anymore.
All right, Christopher Rutledge, thank you so much for your time and for giving us those inputs this evening. That's the Executive Director of the Mining Affected Communities United in Action, speaking to us there about the work that they've been doing on the ground in Stilfontein and accusing the South African police force for staging some of those people that are coming out of that mine.